Brooklyn stayed home alone for a week because her family went on vacation. On Tuesday, she discovers that she only has 4 breakfast buns left. She doesn't like grocery shopping alone, so she cuts them in half. How many breakfast buns does Brooklyn have now? Brooklyn might now have 8 pieces, but it's still just 4 buns. Mrs. Palmer has 3 daughters, Iris, Lily, and Rose. She's about to have another girl. What do you think she'll name her? Alice, Hannah, or Poppy? Mrs. Bell seems to choose names of flowers, so she'll probably name the girl Poppy. Penelope went to the doctor, and the doctor gave her 3 pills that she should take every hour. How much time will pass from taking the first pill to the last pill? Just 2 hours. Penelope will take a pill, then she'll take a second pill in 1 hour, and the third pill 1 hour after that. So, just 2 hours will pass. Kennedy was exploring an old part of the city and got trapped in some basement. She found 3 ways out, but none of them seemed safe. Behind the first door, there is a room constructed from magnifying glass. The blazing hot sun outside will instantly fry anything or anyone that enters. Behind the second door, there's a lava floor that melts anything. Behind the third door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas that burns the skin. How can Kennedy escape? Kennedy should wait until night and then walk out the first door. Amy goes hiking alone and gets lost. She only has 2 options: to spend a night in a zombie town or in Werewolf Village. What should she choose? She should stay in the Werewolf Village. Take a look at the sky. The moon is not full, so the villagers are not dangerous. Madeline is a designer. She lives in a 1-story house in a city suburb. She has a small garden, and everything in her house is made entirely of redwood because it's her favorite material. What color do you think the stairs in her house are? It's a tricky question. You should remember that she lives in a 1-story house, so she simply doesn't have any stairs there. Okay, here's a little riddle for you to think. I have 1,000 ribs, but only 2 backbones. What am I? It's a railroad track. Can you think of a situation when 8 plus 8 equals 4? Yes, it's true when we talk about time. If it's 8 o'clock, then in 8 hours, it'll be 4. Ruby and Scarlet are sisters, and they always play tricks on one another. Today, Ruby came to Scarlet and said, "I'll bet you $1 that if you give me $2, I will give you $3 in return." Should Scarlet accept the bet? No, she shouldn't, because even if she wins the bet, she'll lose the money. Ruby might take $2 and say, "I lose the bet. I won't give you $3. She will have to return Scarlet $1, but Scarlet will keep the other $1. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. Instead, he found a witch's house, walked in, patted a cat, and asked the witch to take her home. But the witch had a problem, and she asked Esme to help her. Last week, the witch bought a rabbit. The seller told her that the rabbits breed every month and delivers 5 rabbits with 60% chance and 7 rabbits with 40% chance. How many rabbits will the witch have in a year? Well, that's a tricky question. It takes 2 rabbits to breed, so unless the witch gets a second one, she'll still have just 1. Which of the following statements are true and which are false? 1. Only one of the statements is false. 2. 2 of the statements are false. 3. 3 of the statements are false. 4. 4 of the statements are false. 5. All 5 of these statements are false. Since they all contradict one another, only one of them is true, and the other 4 are false. The only statement that reflects it is statement number 4, so that's the correct one. One night a year, Santa Claus stays in his workshop on the North Pole and goes to places to deliver presents. Which direction does he travel first? Santa lives on the North Pole, and wherever you go, the only way to travel from there is south. Ellery has a cat. Her friend asked her how old the cat was. And here's what she replied. In 2 years, the cat will be twice as old as she was 5 years ago. How old is Ellery's cat? The cat is 12 years old. Esme was having a walk in a forest and got lost. After wandering around for a while, she found the house of a witch and asked her to take her home. The witch shrugged and gave her a bottle with a key in it. The key will open this door, and the door will take you home. Take it out, but there are 2 rules. You can't pull the cork, and you can't break the bottle. How can Esme get the key? Esme should push the cork inside the bottle and then take out the key. Now I'll show you some photos, and your task is to figure out what's wrong with them. Ready?
Yeah.
Here's the first one. There are strawberries growing on the tree. That's not right. What about this one? Do you see a mistake? It's ancient times, but this guy right there is talking on the phone. This can't be true. Next one. Keep your eyes wide open. Do you see what's wrong in this picture? Did you pay attention to the traffic light and its colors? There's purple color instead of green. That's the mistake. Just a couple of more. Don't give up. Anything odd you can spot right here? It's night, but there's the sun in the sky. That's odd. Okay, and the last one here for you, the hardest one. Can you see a mistake in this photo? This woman doesn't get reflected in the mirror. Is it a mistake, or is she just a vampire? Ava, Beth, and Chloe are best students in class, and they are participating in the end of a semester tournament. Here's how the rules go. Before hearing the question, a girl chooses a target, one of the other two girls. Then the question is read, and the girl gives her answer. If the answer is correct, the target gets eliminated. If the answer is wrong, then the turn goes to the next participant, who will then choose her target and will get her question, and so on. A subject was drawn randomly: history. Ava isn't very good in history, and her odds of giving the right answer are 1 in 3. Beth is a bit better, and her odds are 2 out of 3. Chloe is a history ace, and her odds of responding correctly are 3 out of 3. Everyone knows each other's odds. To be fair, Ava starts, and then the turn will pass to Beth, then to Chloe, and then back to Ava, and so on, until there's one last person left. What should be Ava's strategy to have higher chances of winning? Ava should give the wrong answer, even if she knows the correct answer. Then, the turn will pass to Beth. Beth will most likely target Chloe, because she has better odds in the game. If Beth manages to eliminate Chloe, then it's just Ava and Beth left, and Ava's turn and a chance to win. If Beth doesn't eliminate Chloe, then it's Chloe's turn, who will most likely target Beth, and will definitely eliminate her, since her odds are 3 out of 3. Even though Ava will have to go against Chloe at the end, it's still a better situation because she for sure makes it to the second round safely, and will then go first with her shot.
Betty has a sister, Amy. Gail is Betty's mother. Meanwhile, Dan is Gail's father and Samantha is Dan's mother. Can you figure out how Amy is related to Dan? Here's why. Amy is Betty's sister, and Betty is the daughter of Gail. Therefore, Amy is another daughter of Gail. We also know that Dan is Gail's father. Therefore, Dan is Amy's grandfather. Betty is going on a date, and she's a little late. Her boyfriend, Stan, is already waiting for her inside their favorite coffee shop. Can you find him? It's this guy on the right. He has a small gift box on the table. After the date, Betty takes a car sharing to go home. The car is parked at this point. Can you figure out the only point Betty can reach? If Betty takes this weird route, she can only reach point 3. One of the most popular mailing websites is facing a system error. That's why the passwords of some clients are changed. Betty writes a message to the company's representative. My password is altered. I'm not able to log in. The company replies, this time your password is distinct and it has 8 letters, out of which 2 are the same as in your previous password. Betty replies, thanks, now I can log in. Can you figure out Betty's old and new passwords? Her new password is distinct, and the old one is altered. Betty arrives at her favorite swimming pool and spots something really weird. Can you see it too? Someone swapped these guys' shadows. After swimming training, Betty goes to the public shower. There are other people in shower cubicles nearby. Can you spot who's unwanted here? This person on the left should probably use the men's bathroom. He has only one shampoo bottle, while ladies usually bring a bunch of skincare products. Betty meets her best friend Rob. He always tells the truth. Rob says, I have one specific whole number on my mind. It's 1, 2, or 3. You can ask me just one question, but I can only reply yes or no, or I don't know. What question will you ask to figure out the number I'm thinking about? Can you help Betty? She should say, I have one whole number on my mind. It's between 2 and 3. Is the number I'm thinking of smaller or equal to your number? This way, if Rob replies no, then the number is 1. If he replies yes, the number is 3. And if he replies I don't know, the number is 2. Betty got a job as a cashier at a movie theater. A group of her first customers approached the ticket kiosk. 4 mothers, 2 grandmothers, and 4 daughters. What's the minimum number of tickets they need to buy? Only 6. Betty has 3 keys that open 3 different doors. How many attempts does she need to figure out the key for each door? Betty will need 6 attempts. First, she has to check the first key and spend 3 attempts for 3 doors. Then, check the second key, 2 attempts for the remaining 2 doors. And then, use the third key to open the last door. Betty enters the cafeteria and spots a thief right away. Can you see this person too? This elegant lady in the chair has a plastic detector attached to the stolen clothes. Someone robbed the movie theater. Betty calls the police and they arrest 3 suspects. Officers check the guy's passports. Can you spot a fake ID? Most passport pictures have a white background, so the one in the middle is fake. Late at night, Betty is walking home in a snowstorm. She meets her neighbor walking a dog in the street and freaks out. Can you guess why? The dog leaves footprints from only 2 paws. Betty continues her walk and sees another odd thing. Can you spot it too? It should be the moon, not Saturn. Betty enters her apartment building and meets 3 neighbors in the elevator. One of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? This lady on the left. She's wearing a moon necklace. Betty goes to sleep and wakes up in an arena. The speakers announce that she must fight with one of these 3 hybrid creatures. Which one should she choose to stay alive? A polar bear with a head of a tiger, an elephant with a wolf head, or a hybrid with a face and body of a huge squid and the legs of a human? Betty should choose the third hybrid. Since its body has gills, it won't be able to breathe and fight outside water. After the fight, Betty gets an invitation to meet the major investor of this competition, King Harold. She enters a big, beautiful hall and sees 6 people sitting in front of her. They're wearing the same outfit and look very similar. It's very hard to tell who's the real king here. But after a couple of minutes, Betty approaches one of them, bows, and says, "Nice to meet you, Your Majesty." How did she know who's the real king? All the other guys were looking at the king very attentively to imitate his manners and actions. Meanwhile, the real King Harold was sitting calmly. Betty returns home and faces bad news. Her cat Fluffy is missing. Betty questions her neighbors. Lily says, "Sorry, I didn't see any cats. I'm working from home. I spent all day working on my new book." Vanessa said, "I haven't seen Fluffy today, and it's cool because I have a terrible allergy to cats." And Bob said, "I think I heard a cat meowing on the balcony a couple of hours ago." Can you guess who stole the cat? No, buddy. Fluffy's been hiding under Betty's couch all this time. Betty's boyfriend Stan lives just a couple of blocks away from her place. Betty calls him on FaceTime and invites him over. But Stan says, "Sorry, honey, I've just got home feeling very sick. I'd rather go to bed early." Betty yelled, "Liar!" and hung up. Why? Take a look at Betty's window. It's pretty dark. Stan lives only 2 blocks away, but there's a bright blue sky in his background, which means he's definitely not at home. Betty makes a beautiful sandcastle and then lies down. She falls asleep. In a while, Betty wakes up and sees that someone has ruined her castle. She asks 3 persons hanging out nearby, "Who did it?" Kelly replies, "I like your castle and took a couple of pictures for my social. Then I left to get some ice cream. When I came back, I saw the castle was completely ruined." Olivia said, "I'm sorry, I was swimming far from the shore. When I returned to the shore, I didn't notice any castles." And Tom said, "Sorry, lady, I don't see anything because I'm blind. The wind must have destroyed your castle. You shouldn't have to make it 5 stories high." Can you spot a liar? Tom is lying. He said he was blind. How did he learn the castle architecture in detail? Betty is using an app to find accommodation for her vacation. She likes 3 offers. Rose invites her to stay in a cozy bedroom on the 4th floor of her luxurious villa for the price of $50 per night. Jane is ready to host 1 person in a tiny guest house in her backyard for $30. And Tyler offers to rent his boat for $200 per night. Fishing equipment is included. Only one of these advertisements isn't fake. Can you guess which one? This villa is 3 stories, and Tyler's picture is hanging on the pier. He's a runaway thief. So, Jane's guest house is the safest option for Betty. Mr. and Mrs. Luce have 7 daughters. Each daughter has 1 brother. Can you tell how many people there are in the family? The correct answer is 10. Mr. Luce, Mrs. Luce, 7 daughters, and 1 brother. Dr. Luce is a world-famous chemist.
Wow.
He has just arrived in London to attend an international science seminar. The next morning, the lab cleaner found Dr. Luce unconscious on the floor. One of the 6 lab assistants poisoned the chemist. The names of the 6 assistants are Austin, William, Oscar, Leo, DJ, and Robert. To solve this case, lab managers called the local detective, Mr. Smith. Dr. Luce left this mysterious note on the table. Here's what he wrote: 76, 20, 44, 79, 16, 22, 7. After reading the note, Mr. Smith asked the police to arrest 2 criminals. Who are the criminals? Oscar and Dustin. Remember that Dr. Luce is a chemist? He encrypted the names of his enemies using the periodic table hanging on the wall. Dr. Luce got better and returned to his work in the lab. He invited a young scientist, Oscar, for a job interview. His resume was too good to be true, so Dr. Luce decided to check Oscar's logical thinking. He offered Oscar to solve this number puzzle. Oscar cracked this task right away. What about you? Here's a little hint. You should read this puzzle from left to right and from top to bottom. Question 1. What are the next 2 rows of numbers? And question 2. Why? Here's the correct answer. Line 3 represents 2 1s. Line 4 then becomes 1 2 and 1 1. Line 5, therefore, is 1 1, 1 2, and 2 1s. Using the same logic, we can now decode line 6, 3 1s, 2 2s, and 1 1. Line 7 is 1 3, 1 1, 2 2s, and 2 1s. Dr. Luce hired Oscar and took him to the basement of the lab, but someone has changed the password on the door. Can you help the guys guess the code? This rebus is a hint. The correct password is summary. Dr. Luce offered one more riddle to his new employee.
How can a man go 8 days without sleep?
Can you help Oscar crack this one? The correct answer is easily, because people sleep at night. In the basement, Dr. Luce found out that someone had stolen his latest innovation, a superhero costume.
Oh no!
He had questioned 3 suspects. Jack, the cleaner, said,
I've been cleaning the floor in the hallway all morning. I haven't entered your office yet.
Peter, the lab assistant, said, I was working on my own project, and besides, I don't have a key to your private office. And Dr. Luce's wife, Helen, said, You never tell me anything about your work. How would I know what to steal? Dr. Luce took fingerprints from the closet where the costume was. But he found only his own fingerprints. Who stole the costume? It was Helen. She's the only one who's wearing gloves.
Oh.
After a short interrogation, Helen confessed that she had sold the costume to Dr. Luce's major enemy, Dr. Phillips. Dr. Luce went to his lab to take his invention back. A creepy guard stopped Dr. Luce at the entrance and asked for a password. Can you help Dr. Luce find out the code? See the sign on the wall? You should rearrange these letters to spell just a single word. So, the correct password is a single word. Dr. Luce entered the building and found himself in a strange place guarded by 2 people. One of the guards always says the truth, while the other one always lies. Dr. Luce doesn't know who is who. He can only ask one question to escape. What should he ask? If he asks the guard who always tells the truth, he would tell that the other guard would point to the dangerous door. And if he asks the guard who always lies, he would tell the opposite door of the truth-telling guard and point to the dangerous door. In either case, both guards will point to the dangerous door, and then Dr. Luce should just choose the other door. Dr. Luce entered the room and saw this group of scientists. Can you spot anything weird in this picture? The scientists are holding 4 slices of pizza in their hands, but only 3 pieces are missing from the pizza box. Dr. Luce entered Dr. Phillips's office. The room was empty. Can you help him find anything suspicious? Someone is hiding in the ceiling vent. Suddenly, Dr. Luce saw Dr. Phillips flying around in the superhero costume. He grabbed Dr. Luce, took him to the top of a mountain, and left him there alone. Dr. Luce wandered around and found 3 tunnels. There's an angry, hungry lion in the first tunnel. There's a huge fire in the second tunnel. And the third tunnel leads through a dinosaur lair. Which way should Dr. Luce choose? The third one. Dinosaurs became extinct millions of years ago. Dr. Luce came to a village and asked the local farmer, Rick, for a glass of water. Rick told him that he'd been struggling to divide his entire land between his 2 sons. Both of the sons have been very good to him. And now, Rick's only wish is to treat his sons fairly and divide his land equally between them. But the problem is that the land has a weird shape, and thus, there's no way to split it into 2 equal halves. Dr. Luce said,
I have an idea. It can guarantee that the land will be divided in a manner that will satisfy both sons.
Can you guess what's on his mind? All Rick needs to do is ask one of his sons to divide the land into 2 parts and tell him that the other son will have the choice of selecting one of those 2 halves. In this manner, both of them will avoid any tricks and divide the land equally. Dr. Luce was sitting at the local restaurant. He was sad because he'd lost his wallet during his adventures. He noticed a man next to him pulling a wad of $100 notes out of his pocket. Dr. Luce turned to the rich guy and said,
Hey, I have an amazing talent. I know almost every song that has ever existed.
The rich guy laughed. Dr. Luce then said,
I'm willing to bet you all the money you have in your wallet that I can sing a genuine song with a lady's name of your choice in it.
The rich man laughed again and said, Okay, how about my wife's name? Helga Fiona Mary Rose Holmes. This evening, the rich man went home poor, and Dr. Luce went home rich. What song did he sing? The Happy Birthday Song. The villagers told Dr. Luce mystical legends about the local forest. He liked creepy stories and decided to go there and see it for himself. He set off at night and soon got to the forest. He noticed a small shop nearby. The seller said, Hey bro, don't go to this forest unequipped. Take this magic potion. It will make any creepy monster fall asleep for 10 hours. Dr. Luce took 1 bottle and continued the journey. He wandered there for several hours, but he didn't see anything mysterious. Dr. Luce was about to leave right before dawn. Someone appeared in front of him. A pair of vampires that feed on humans and a siren who hunts people using her singing. So there are 3 enemies, but Dr. Luce has only 1 potion. What should he do? The sun will rise in a few seconds and vampires will run away. That's why he should pour the potion at the siren. Dr. Luce found an abandoned castle. As soon as he entered, someone locked the door. Dr. Luce found 3 ways out, but all of them were dangerous. The first path was full of hungry wolves. It was impossible to get through. The second passage was guarded by 5 vacuum cleaner robots that were reprogrammed to hunt down humans. And the third passage was filled with molten lava. What door should he choose? The second one. The vacuum cleaners might go after him, but they're pretty harmless. Finally, Dr. Luce returned to his hometown. He's also a college teacher. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough time to prepare for the upcoming class. Therefore, he offered the students this tricky lesson. There was no homework, assignments, or tests, but there was a final test that would have only 1 question on it. When everyone received the test, it was a blank sheet of paper with a question on it. What is risk? Most students managed to give their answers, but only 1 student deserved the highest grade.
Yes!
That's weird because he only wrote down 1 word. What did he write? His reply was this. Dr. Luce went on a business trip to Vienna. He felt very nervous because he was about to meet a lady he used to date in college, Jane. She's also a scientist who's currently working on immortality pills. That's why she asked Dr. Luce to come over and help her. As soon as he entered her office, he knew that something had gone wrong. 3 zombies were standing in the room. Can you tell which one is his ex-girlfriend? Take a look at Dr. Luce's hand. He has a tattoo, T plus J. So his girlfriend is the second zombie because she has a tag on her foot that says Jane.